Can you just dive into a little bit on what specifically your role was?
Yeah, sure. So I was the first assistant editor. I started out as the second assistant editor, and what I did then was just do a lot of like project organization, do a lot of exports, publishing, which is how we basically let other departments know what the timing will be for each shot and all that sort of information with the sound effects and dialogue and all that. And then when I became first, I kind of was just like, it basically is how it sounds. I was the first assistant. So I was kind of like the head assistant of the editorial process and would delegate tasks to other assistants and to try to finish the movie as quickly as we could.
How long have you been working on this production of with Strange World?
So on Strange World, I joined the last like year and a half. So yeah, they had been working since 2018 on the movie. And yeah, so I started kind of like late in the game. I was at a different studio prior. But yeah, so that's when I joined.
And so you graduated from UT with an RTF degree, and so I'm curious, have you always had this, like you felt drawn to film throughout your entire process of going through education, then going into the industry? Have you any specific form of film or just film as a whole have you been drawn to?
I've been drawn to film as a whole. It was, I have to say that at UT, it was kind of tough getting into the RTF program. It's pretty competitive. And so I pretty much clawed my way in because I have always wanted to work in film, and I tried to be happy with different avenues of work, but it just wasn't what I was passionate about. So I've always loved film. I would make movies as a kid and they were really bad. All the usual stuff from people who are interested in filmmaking and have wanted to be into it. But I thought that when I was in college, I thought that working in animation meant that I had to be able to draw, which is not true. I do not draw at all. And I work in animation. And I love animation. It's been such a wonderful avenue for me and such a lovely part of the industry. And the people I work with are just so talented and crazy good at what they do.
So what kind of set you on that path into animation? Was there any like particular moment, or is it just kind of you've drifted into it more?
I I drifted into it, but not really. I had always loved animation. And like I said, like I really didn't think that I could do it if I wasn't just like a visual artist. But I basically fully got into it from my internship at DreamWorks Animation. I did that. I did the UTLA program through UT, went out to LA and got the internship at DreamWorks Animation. And then that's really when I fully dove into it. I was always interested in it, and I would take animation classes here and there. The RTF program, it was very like a la carte with their film classes. So you could kind of like take an animation class, you could take an editorial class or a documentary class, and I would take animation classes, but I didn't really think that I could apply that to a full-time job because I didn't think I was quite good enough as an animator. But animation editing just kind of became this happy medium between the two, which is like animation plus with like all the timing that comes with that, but also editing, which is something I really love to do in college. But yeah, so that was really what jump started my career into animation. And then I just kind of fell in love with it. I fell in love with like all the people and all the artists that I met. And I just really enjoyed working there. And I've been lucky to keep working since.
And for UT, I mean, I specifically RTF students, but just UT students in general who want to pursue film, what is some good advice you can give them of taking advantage of their time here, but also just in exploring what they're interested in?
Oh yeah. I mean, there are so many. I wish that I could go back and tell my college self to do more things and not be so socially awkward, and just to like to talk to more people and take more classes that you may think that you're not going to be good at, but could pique your interest and could be something that you develop over time. And also, I would say definitely take advantage of how much of a movie city Austin is. It's such a great hub to get started in film, and there are so many internships and so many opportunities to take advantage of, and also a lot of people that you can learn from. And I would also say, don't feel weird about reaching out to people who you really admire, because you'd be surprised at like how often people are really responsive to that. And yeah, just go for it and try to not be afraid of putting yourself out there, even though I know it's really hard.
And I mean, that's great advice. Very helpful, especially with in terms of like networking. I feel like that's something a lot of people need to know going into RTF. But another thing is, with your time at UT, would you say there were any particular moments or skills that you took from your experience here and applied them into what you did on Strange World?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I learned how to use Avid at UT. We were, from our very first class, from our very first production class, we were I don't want to say forced, but we were pretty much forced to use Avid. And it definitely made me feel like I was a fish out of water a little bit. I had no idea how to use it. And I don't know if you're familiar with Avid, but the UI is not, it's a lot to learn. But yeah, from doing that, I was able to learn the software, and I apply it literally every day on my job, being in the Avid and importing and troubleshooting and all that stuff. I mean, that's stuff that I do every day. So that's a huge thing. Also, I mean, in meetings, directors, even though we are working in animation, they make a lot of references to live action films, and they take a lot of like inspiration from live action films. So having knowledge of those films and the history of film, I took a lot of like film history classes at UT, and it's definitely applied even just in conversation, let alone in meeting settings for my job. But yeah, there are little pieces of every single class I've taken at UT that I've kind of used over time, and it's a great program. I really loved being at UT for film.
I'm loving it so far too.
Oh, great! You're a film major?
Yes, I'm a sophomore RTF.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome! Cool.
But I guess you're talking about I don't know if this is something you can necessarily share, but what kind of programs do you use as with the types of editing you're doing on this movie as a
Oh
first
yeah,
assistant editor?
yeah. So I mean, I use Avid a lot. There are some like proprietary software at Disney, but it's really, but in terms of like media management, Avid, I use Media Encoder a lot to shift formats, because the new Avid doesn't really like QuickTime files and like certain types of files. So I have to adjust them, which is fine. But yeah, Media Encoder. After Effects. We use After Effects a lot, because when we're in the animatic stage, we can use After Effects to make the storyboards look more animated. And so yeah, we do use After Effects here and there. Let's see. I've used like Audacity to record scratch dialogue for edit. Basically, what we have to do for a film is we have to use dialogue that isn't the official actors, just as like a placement. And so I have like a little microphone that I use, and I use Audacity for that. But yeah, Photoshop. Basically everything on the Adobe suite is up for grabs.
The expensive $20 a month Adobe
Yeah,
Suite.
it is. I know. I wish that UT gave that for free. I feel like they could afford it.
They do at the labs now, actually.
Oh, they do?
But you have
Good.
to like go in to use them.
Oh.
You mentioned taking inspiration from real life or live action movies. Are there any in particular that you had to watch specifically or go back to upon working on Strange World?
Not really. There were certain like pulp pulpy films that were like referenced in meetings, but as far as like the structure of the film and everything and the style of the film, it was so flushed out by the time that I got onto the film that we were very much just like, let's go, let's finish this thing, this thing. But yeah, I mean, verbally, like we would like reference certain movies in like reviews and stuff like that. But it was all but all of the stylistic parts of the film and like the tone had already been kind of like solidified.
Do you have any favorite memories from coming into work with this team on kind of like you were mentioning like kind of towards the end of the project more?
Yeah. So what I did near the end of the film was I ran these meetings called Sweatbox, which are where we kind of do like a final review of each shot. And um, and I would do them in the big theater with like a group of like at least 20 people. And it was always really fun. And near the end of the movie, we were all like pretty tired and excited, but still like, oh man, I'm tired. And so there was definitely some like goofiness and like jokes like during the reviews, just and just there was just like such a camaraderie in those meetings because we were just like, all right, we got this, we got to finish. But yeah, those are probably my favorite memories. And just, I mean, I seriously have never met like such a kind group of people. Like there are a lot of really great people in animation, but the people I've met at Disney have been so nice, like super, super nice and so welcoming. And it's just been like an absolute joy, like getting to know them, even when things are stressful and tough near the end. It always made the job more fun just to work with these people because I loved all of them.
And was there ever like a moment that was you would say like the most difficult time of the process and on the flip side of that?
Yeah. So there was a time, what was it? Okay, so we had two different previews, and between those two previews, we were still trying to lock the movie like timing wise. And so juggling a second preview with trying to finish the movie at the same time was a lot of work, especially because we were fully mixing the second preview. So we would have to like lock for timing for the preview, but then we would still be working on the movie hero cut. And it was a lot of juggling. And at that time, I was a new first assistant and I had never been a first before. So I was like, oh, okay, we got this, we got this. But luckily I had amazing help from a first at Disney who has been here forever. And he definitely calmed me down and definitely really helped me navigate the craziness near the end. But yeah, that's definitely the hardest part, the hardest period of time. But then after that, it was actually pretty, I don't want to say chill because it wasn't chill, but it was more easygoing near the end because we were like, okay, well, we locked timing. Let's just cut in lighting shots and finish this puppy up. So
Just had to get over that one hill.
yeah, the hill was tough, but we got over it and it was fine.
I guess the last question I have is just what do you hope audiences take away from seeing Strange World?
I hope that audiences really resonate with just like the family dynamics between the different generations and maybe hopefully have an open dialogue with their parents, like if they're feeling certain ways that I don't want to give too much away, but if they're feeling similarly to how Ethan is feeling or how Searcher is feeling towards his dad, I really hope that they take that away and have like meaningful conversations that are more productive. And also, I just hope that people enjoy just the weirdness of the world that Disney created and the oddities and the characters. And yeah, just really all of those things. But yeah.
But thank you so much, Anna.